thought I'd lost this portrait. Well, not the actual drawing, but the video recording. I made this charcoal portrait a while ago and wanted to share the process with you, but I couldn't find the footage anymore. So I'm really glad that I found it back. I so enjoyed making this portrait, working with various charcoal supplies and focusing on light and dark to get the depth in this portrait, the depth and story in her eyes. And I took my time. This actual portrait took almost 3 hours to make, but I guess that's a bit long for you to have to watch. So let me show you in the next 10 minutes or so how I made it. So as usual, I begin with starting a general sketch, and I'm working here with Untitled charcoal. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I'll link it in the description box. This is extra soft charcoal, but it's really easy to shape into a point. I don't use this type of charcoal very often, but I wanted to test it out here and I did like it. So I just start by creating a base layer of charcoal. You need to have some charcoal down to be able to work with lights also. So then when I have some charcoal down, I blend it. I blend it here with a paper towel, and then I continue to add another layer. You can see here that I use a mahl stick, and that helps me to stabilize my arm when I want to draw with a bit more control. A mahl stick is really helpful. Here I'm using another type of Untitled charcoal. That's the green type, and that's a little bit harder than the yellow type. Now here I use regular willow charcoal, and that's also very helpful just to lay down a lot of pigment, of charcoal pigment, which I can then blend out. And I do this several times. I lay down charcoal and I blend it out. Then here you can see that I start working with a charcoal pencil. This is a very soft charcoal pencil. And I also use a harder type. So the softer the charcoal pencil, the darker it is, and the harder, the lighter. And I often only use a very dark and soft charcoal pencil, but I have to say that I did like working with the harder pencil. And you can see that I shaped the tip to a very pointy and long tip, which helps also with drawing. And I use a kneaded eraser that I shape into the shape that I want. I use that to dab off some of the charcoal. I can correct mistakes, but it's mainly used to draw light. So wherever I remove the charcoal, that's where my lights are created. And I alternate this process throughout the drawing. I work with the Untitled charcoal and with my charcoal pencils. I blend out parts and I use my eraser to create the light parts. And it's really a wonderful process. I so enjoy doing this. charcoal is such a beautiful natural product that I really love to use. And you only have to focus on lights and darks, and I love that process. So here I'm using a blending stump, and I can use that to blend out more detailed areas. And then I go back to my soft charcoal pencil, drawing in more and more details. I work very lightly. That's what I usually do, and when I want to create darker parts, I just go over it several times. And when you keep drawing so lightly, then it's also easier to work with your eraser, because if you use a lot of pressure when you apply the charcoal or when you're drawing with your pencil, then the pigment will stain the paper a lot more, and then it's harder to remove it with an eraser. So you can see that I also use my eraser to create the light parts in the hair. I don't draw the hair as separate lines, but I see it as I also see the other parts of the face and the portrait. They're all patches of light and dark. You can see that you can knead the kneaded eraser in any shape that you want. And so it's really helpful to, as I said, to draw the light parts of the portrait. And all shadows of the portrait are important. So also the shadows at places that maybe at the beginning you don't even notice. And the more darks and lights you create and midtones, the more depth that you create in your portrait, because the darks and lights, those are your tools that you can use to create an illusion of 3D, of a real face. And you can see how lightly I draw. I hold my pencil all the way at the back, and that helps me to draw lightly, because I'm not applying lots of pressure that way. But sometimes I hold my pencil like this, more closer to the tip, and then I have a bit more control. So here I'm just playing with the flow of the hair and the texture of the hair. And I'm also working a bit on the neck and the collar, but I do keep it quite sketchy, so I'm not going as detailed there as I do in the face, and especially the features, the eyes and the mouth. I love the eyes here in this portrait. You can really see some kind of a story in her eyes, and that fascinates me. So then here I use a soft brush to add a bit of charcoal powder, just to shade the background a little bit, so that it is not paper white. And then some final details. Working with my kneaded eraser to bring in a few more fun patches of light. And my charcoal pencil to add some dark Just a few last details. And there she is. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video and seeing how this portrait came to life. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And if you'd like to get more in-depth art project videos, check out my Patreon. The link is in the description box below. And then I'll see you in the next video.